Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1872 and today's date is May 20th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Trump Readies the Economy, Transition Coming. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about trading. There's never been a better time in history to trade crypto, stocks, or binary options. Trade Genius, over the last 30 days, has netted its traders over 22% of their money from spot-on trades. If you never traded before and you want to take advantage of these types of profits every day in the market, I urge you to sign up for one of many Trade Genius's online educational courses. Take control of your financial future. Discover the lucrative world of trading right now through May for their Memorial Day sale. You use promo code MEMORIAL for 40% off all non-bundled items. Check out TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Tell them X22 Report sent you. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, Trump is preparing and readying the economy for the transition. There's a lot more to do before we can transition. And Trump knows, and those people that are working for him, they know they need to keep this system alive. And the only way to do this is to cut the rates and to push stimulus. It's the same tools the central bank, the deep state, has been using for a very long time. How do you think they've been keeping the economy going this long? And Trump wants to use these tools. So very soon, Trump is going to be out there and he's going to be tweeting out, we need a rate cut and we need stimulus. Now, I do believe that this is going to start happening in the fall time period. We might hear a couple more tweets coming in the summer, but I think it's going to pick up in the fall going into 2020. Because he knows if this doesn't happen, the economic system here in the United States and then around the globe, it will not make it. And he needs the system to continue on the way it is so he can change everything and prepare the economy for this transition. And I do believe that corporations, they're preparing for this also. Now, this transition is not going to be easy for many people. Do I think it's going to be a Mad Max type of scenario? No. I think that's completely off the table. But whenever you transition from one economic system, especially a central bank economic system that is deeply in debt, that doesn't work. This is going to be a hard move for many people that are not prepared. And Trump and the Patriots, they know this. Yes, we see the numbers out there about the stock market, GDP, unemployment. Remember, these are the same numbers the deep state, the central bank have been using for a very long time to brainwash the people into thinking this is what makes up the economy. Remember, going back to 1913, the central bank mission was to convince the people that debt is good, credit is fantastic, earning less is great. But all of this has been a lie. And Trump, the Patriots, they're going to be exposing this. This is going to be the hardest part of getting rid of the swamp. Many people believe that it's arresting certain individuals or putting certain individuals who are treasonous behind bars. No, the hardest part is going to be the second act, and that is getting rid of the central bank. Why? Because the central bank, first of all, they don't want to leave. They want to be in control. They like being in control, and they've been in control for a very long time. Not just here in the United States, but around the world. And this is why the central bank continually pops up. Even when the Patriots get rid of the central bank, they try to weasel their way back in. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And this is going to be a bitter fight until the end. Trump knows this, the Patriots know this. This is why they're saving this for the last act. Because they know they need to get rid of all these other players. So they're ready to go. And they need the time to prepare the country for this transition. Now, Ford has announced that they're going to be cutting around 7,000 workers. These are global salaried managers. Now, I don't like anyone losing their job because it's very tough on a family. And like we all said, we know that this transition is going to be very difficult for certain people. Ford's CEO, he wrote a letter to the employees. The CEO is Jim Hackett. He confirmed that the company will eliminate the 7,000 jobs, representing about 10% of its global salary workforce. The company said that the plan will save about $600 million per year, and it will eliminate bureaucracy, and it will increase the number of workers reporting to each manager. And I believe a lot of these companies, they're all going to have to start to restructure, because the way of doing business in the past is going to be very different in the future. Is it going to be worse? No, it's going to be better, but they're going to have to take their companies and completely restructure them, because remember, they've been buying back their stock. They've been living on easy money. They've been supported by governments. This is all about to change. And I believe companies are going to change because they realize they need to. Now, Trump tweeted out that starting Monday, our great farmers can begin doing business again with Mexico and Canada. They have both taken the tariff penalties off of your great agricultural product. Please be sure that you are treated fairly. Any complaints should immediately go to @Secretary Sonny Perdue. And here we have it once again, where Trump now is making it easier for the farmers. They've taken the tariffs off, and the agricultural farmers, they can go ahead and do business with Mexico and Canada. Sometimes to restructure everything, you need to take a couple steps back to move forward. And this is what we see happening. Remember, there's a lot of people that are within government still who don't want Trump to change anything. Remember, their plan was to have a global government. Their plan was to bring America down to a third world nation. Their plan was never to have companies come back to the United States, never to have manufacturers come back to the United States, never have American individuals make more money. They didn't want any of this to happen. And what Trump has to do, he has to work around all of this to try to bring all of this back. Now, they have had many, many, many years to offshore everything. Trump has had, 2.5 years to try to bring everything back. And sometimes it seems confusing because the plan is not always a direct straight line to the end goal. Sometimes you need to go around things, and sometimes he has to. But in the end, he's going to make it better for the everyday person. And the only way to do this is to go after the source, and that is the central bank system. We see the Chicago Fed, their national activity index has plunged to 3-year lows. So they're looking at their economic system, and they're telling us that it is not doing well. And when this hits around 0, well, we have a major problem. Now, the index right now, it draws on 85 economic indicators, and it was negative 0.45 in April versus an upwardly revised positive 0.05 in March. What this is telling us is that the economy is weakening, and it is at the weakest level since May of 2016. And Trump, the only way to pump this back up, he's going to call on the Fed to cut rates and to push stimulus. He knows he can't wait much longer. And I do believe it will be starting very, very soon. Now, what's very interesting is that Lacey Hunt is pointing to this graph, this chart. And Lacey is saying that this is very important. The government, the country, cannot be sustained the way it is. Now, we know it cannot be. Trump knows it can't be. And this is why he's preparing for the transition. This is what this has been all about. It's not about pumping up the stock market. It's not about lowering unemployment. It's about preparing the country for what is to come. And that is a collapse of the central bank system, the removal of the central bank system, and the transition coming in. So when we look at this information, the national savings rate is currently at 3%. It is historically 6%. We're running half of normal. The government sector is running at negative 6% and dragging down national savings. This is where the problem lies. But it is not going to stay there. The government deficit is moving even lower into negative territory. There is insufficiency of savings to absorb ever larger budget deficits. National savings is not staying at 3%. It is going to decline. Real investment is going to decline. It is possible the private sector will save more, but that means there will be less consumption. In other words, the public sector is going to constrain the private sector and the economy. And guess which sector provides the basis for better growth? The private sector or the public sector? In other words, the government sector's budget deficits are too large for the level of savings. We simply have insufficiency of saving, and it cannot be corrected. The good news, if you want to call it that, is that the U.S. is the best in town right now, meaning we are not as far along the diminishing returns path of the rest of the world. So if you look at the euro area, they're at negative 16%. United Kingdom, negative 17%. China, negative 49%. United States is at negative 7.8%. And this is showing us that the central bank system, the global central bank system, is breaking down. This is how it turns out. It only lasts 45 to 50 years, and then it completely breaks down. And then they need an event to explain why everything is happening. But again, they don't have the event. Now, Irving Fisher, back in 1934, said probably one of the most important things. When economies are highly indebted, economies slow. And guess what's happening? The economies are slowing. It has nothing to do with tariffs. It has nothing to do with Trump's policies. It has nothing to do with what the mainstream media is talking about. What they don't tell you is that the central bank system is breaking down, and there's no way to fix it. The only thing you can do is to restart it. And that's what the central bank likes to do. They like to restart their system. And that's why they need the event. Because they can blame the implosion on that event and say it had nothing to do with us. That's what they normally do. This time, they're exposed. And they're exposed on purpose. Because Trump needs the central bank exposed. He needs the central bank out there doing what they do best. And he needs to point the finger at them at each time. This way, the people say, well, wait a minute. Trump is making the economy better. Why is the central bank doing this? Trump says we should be doing this. Why is the central bank doing that? He's doing this on purpose. He's playing with them on purpose so he can use this later on. He needs them completely exposed for this transition. All these pieces need to come together at the end. And that's what he's doing. He's setting everything up and readying the economy for the transition. And this is why he's working on the trade deals. Think about what he's done since he came into office. TPP, boom, slashed. Reject globalism. Redoing the bilateral trade agreements. All of this is being done on purpose because he knows that he needs to prepare the United States for this transition out of a central bank system. And this is why he's continually calling these companies to come back to the United States. Because we need the manufacturing. We need the trade. We need all of this because when we come off the petrodollar system, guess what? Countries are not going to be holding the dollar anymore. They're not going to trade the dollar in for our goods. We need to have trade deals in place. All of this is being done on purpose. And you might not see it, but when it's all said and done, we're going to see an economy that is prepared and ready to transition out of a central bank system. Think about the central banks when they transitioned us from a gold-backed system, well, partially gold, into a complete and utter fiat system. Think about the problems we had. And we didn't even have that much debt. Think about the 70s where there was very high unemployment. People couldn't find jobs. Other countries around the world, they were hit even harder. There were long fuel lines, and there were long lines for other things. But once again, we were coming off a system that was partially backed by gold, moving on to a petrodollar system, and we had a little bit of debt. Today, we're doing the opposite. We're at the end stage of the central bank system. Interest rates are close to zero. Europe, they're negative. We have this huge amount of debt, and the whole system has been corrupted by the central bank system, by the central bankers. And we need to unwind all of this to get out of it. And this is going to be the transition. And yes, there's going to be bumps in the road. It's going to be difficult for many people. But as you can see, Trump, the Patriots, they're trying to prepare and ready the United States for when we have to make that move. And that move is going to be coming very, very soon. Just enjoy the show. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.